Good day, Pete Kane here, founder of Podcast Pete, a community that is created with podcasters with a purpose. More on that, but this is week 2 of Mindset, Habits, and Goals. So let's talk about the introduction to Carol Dweck, her theory on growth versus fixed mindset. We're going to go into how to identify your current mindset, and we're also going to give you some techniques to shift to a growth mindset. So let's talk about Carol Dweck. Okay, right here. Right here, I want to thank my friend Crystal Duke, the most awesome health and fitness coach on the planet. If you don't know about her, look her up. But she gave me this book. I had always been aware of my mindset, but I didn't kind of get it in the fixed versus the growth mindset until I read this book, listened to it on Audible, did it on AI to get the main points out of it. So let's talk about 3 things in this book. So first, belief about talents and intelligence. Beliefs about talents and intelligence. This is critical to understand because you'll identify yourself in one camp or the other by understanding this principle. So let's look at it. A fixed mindset is an individual who believes in intelligence, talents, and the abilities are innate and unchangeable. Key word, unchangeable. Success seems to a reflection of your inherent ability. So you think because you're born a certain way, you've been exposed to a certain environment, you can't grow. So you're locked in to a fixed mindset. And when you're locked into the fixed mindset, say you didn't get access to the best education out there, and you're thinking, oh, well, I can't do what that person did. Well, you're right, but that's a fixed mindset. Anything is possible with a growth mindset. Anything can be trained. Anything our brain is the most powerful thing we have to think. And when we think and we grow, we can do anything possible out there. So let's look at a fixed mindset when it comes to, the talent and intelligence. The growth mindset. People believe that intelligence and the ability can be developed through effort, learning, and perseverance. Effort, learning, and perseverance. Do you see the key words there? Effort. The effort is to change, to put yourself in a position to grow, learn. If you didn't graduate from an Ivy League school, it doesn't matter. This is what matters. And if you have a growth mindset and you're thinking that when it comes to learning, it's your effort and you have to persevere. And the more you persevere, there's a thing called PTSG, not PTSD, post traumatic stress growth. My friend Christian he didn't come up with it, but he shared it with me. And when you lean in to trauma, when you say, what can I learn from this storm? What can I learn from this situation? As opposed to that trauma owning you. Now, I don't want to get into the therapy part of that. That is not my expertise. I don't have anything to do with that. If you think you need a therapist, get one. Because these people are trained professionals. Anytime you can get a trained professional to help you, it's going to be a good thing. Sometimes it's a coach, it's a mentor. somebody that can identify blind spots. But if you go in, I had a client that when he came into high performance coach, it was like dragging a person to the dentist. Didn't want to be there, didn't want to answer any questions. He had a fixed mindset. There wasn't anything I could say that he hadn't heard. Everything is learning. And if we come in to say, I can't get anything out of it, I don't believe in coaching, you're right. You don't. You won't get anything out of it. That's a fixed mindset. But when you have a growth mindset, when you come in with, what can I learn? What strategies can I use to grow? How can this adversity that I'm going through, what lessons do I learn? Carol Dweck talked about a story in her book that she took I think it was somewhere, it might have been Brooklyn, somewhere in New York, the most underperforming school, and they put a growth mindset in place. They basically just changed one word. Instead of saying you failed, it's something like, you haven't achieved it yet. Yet was used all the time. So a child gets the instructions is, you haven't figured it out yet. And when you have that, you're thinking, oh, good, I just haven't figured it out, versus here's an A, here's a B, here's a C, he's a D. And you accept that label. Now, I grew up dyslexic. I grew up ADD. And that was my label for 40 years. I did struggle. It put me in some dark, bad places. Like, real bad. Story for another day. But it created growth opportunities. Because when I finally had a life-changing occurrence, stroke, where you lose your left side, like, this is as high as I can get it. It changes you. It changes you from the point of, now you're dealt a trauma. If I hadn't gone through dyslexia and wasn't ADD with the active brain and hadn't been addicted to drugs, legal drugs, that's a story for another day, then going through a stroke might have been a whole lot worse, because I was an avid golfer, played 5 times a week. I ran all the time. Social runner, but I ran in like 25 peach trees. So I loved, and it was therapy to run every day I could. And I ran a lot. Now I don't run. For 3 years, I haven't been able to run. So that throws you off, because that's something you enjoy. I love strategy of golf. Love it. Love competing. Love whooping up on the person on the tee. Just love it. Love reading body language. Love strategy. That has not been part of my life for 3 years. So you change. And so what it did for me, I remember back at Shepherd, and that's where I spent 39 days. And the neuro, wonderful lady, I don't know, it was maybe the first week, 2, I get invited. I have it scheduled in my day to go see her. And so I'm wheeling in there in a wheelchair. I don't think I'm eating yet. I'm not walking for sure. I'm still trying to get that down. So anyway, I wheel in there and she says to me, how are you doing? And I say, I'm doing really good. And then she leaned into me and she said, no, really, how are you doing? And I said, really, I'm doing good. However, let me put it in context. If you knew my life, this is just another challenge. And actually, not bad at all. I mean, yeah, you got to learn how to eat. You got to learn to go to the bathroom. You got to learn to take a shower. You got to learn everything over again because half your body doesn't work. When half your body doesn't work, the full body is affected. And I tell you that because the challenges that we face, if we accept them as perseverance, and we accept it with the fact is, how can I get through this? What can I do to get through this? Not accepting. You'll hear people that had trauma, major trauma, like Oprah. She was molested as a child. Now, if she let that define her, she wouldn't be where she is today. But she took it as a growth opportunity. The rumor has it she only works 2 hours a day. Now, don't think she plays around for the rest of the time. It's 2 hours of decisions she has to make on her business. So she's constantly working on herself, constantly working on her mindset, constantly working on her skills, constantly working on her habits, constantly pouring into herself so she can be strong, so she can show up for her family, for her community, for her followers, for her people. And that's why you hear the phrase sharpen the axe. Well, that's what she's doing. So when she goes to cut down that tree, those 2 hours, she zips through it like a knife through hot butter. And so that's the whole idea of perseverance, is accepting it as a growth opportunity. And as Carol Dweck says in her book, Mindset, is the fixed think that just because I don't have intelligence, this is all I can do. That's a fixed mindset. The growth mindset is, next, what do I need to overcome? How do I need to grow? What do I need to do to get through this? When you go through a storm, nothing's pleasant. When you're sitting there waking up after a stroke and you're wondering what the heck happened, and you realize that half your body's not working, now you have to say, what am I going to do from now? This is a card that was dealt me. How am I going to grow through this tragedy? So PTSG is post-traumatic stress growth. Growth mindset at its best. If you interview and you talk to people, like I've done 350 podcasts, I've had the incredible opportunity to learn from these people, to be able to ask any questions, to be curious, to learn. I learned so much every single episode. So it was an accelerated growth opportunity for me, because I had, for 30 to 60 minutes, I had my undivided attention on you, if you were the guest. And so I could, depending on the answer, I could ask the next question. So I could go deep in whatever thing I thought would be of service to our viewers, and to have the person that is a guest helping our viewers to grow. That's why we say podcasting with a purpose. The purpose is not that we just talk. The purpose is there is a strategy, a direction to make our viewers better, to give them growth opportunities in whatever subject happened to be at that time. We had a bunch of different ones. We still do. So that growth mindset, and when you look at, your talents and intelligence and your belief system around those two topics, you have two different mindsets. Now, let's talk about the response to challenges and failures. Now, a fixed failure is viewed as a personal flaw. A personal flaw. That's a fixed mindset. And so when you avoid to maintain the appearance of competence, you're always trying to work on the defense. You don't want to fail. You don't want to look ridiculous. You're not going to grow. And you have that mindset of really not giving your best. Look at the most recent political election. One was afraid to say the wrong thing. Same with Biden when he ran. He hid in the basement. She hid, I don't know if it was a basement, but it was kind of like a basement. She hid in a cave. And so she was afraid. One got an offer. Both of them got offers to be on the Joe Rogan podcast. One took it, had a growth mindset, had adversity. If you want to look at somebody who was battle tested, look at our now president, Donald Trump. If you don't think that that was battle tested, oh my gosh, that's a battle that's going to go down in history. And you look at the other person who didn't even go on the show, afraid, said, oh, well, we'll only do it if you come to our place and you only say these questions and you only ask this and you can't ask this and can only be an hour. Oh my gosh, give me a break. That had to give Joe Rogan a headache when he's reading all these requirements. Just come on, it's my show. I'll ask the questions. You just answer them. And if you're not afraid, if you have a growth mindset, hey, you're going to be better by virtue of being on there. If you have a fixed mindset, which she did, she was afraid. She was afraid that if she said something wrong, because if you're not true to yourself and you're afraid that what you say will be used against you, then, hey, it'll never work. Never work. And you can see she got waxed. She got waxed. And that's, in your case, apply this lesson to grow. How can you come on a podcast and be yourself? Just answer honestly about whatever the question is. And you grow, you learn. And in our case, we have a thing called Flip the Script, where we invite people that have been on our podcast to come back and be a host. And I'll be your guest. And you can ask me anything you want, anything you want. And then it's going to be recorded. So, whatever my answer is, it's got to be truthful because it's a digital asset. And that's a whole different podcast for another time, a whole new training. Creating digital asset is everything in this new economy. But what we're going to talk, what I want you to understand is that fixed is worried about a flaw, is worried about that. What am I going to say something wrong? Am I going to do? Am I going to make a mistake? I'm afraid to make a mistake. So you hold back, you have a fix. Growth is just our current president that's going to be in office, thank goodness, January 20th. And this country is going to take off like a rocket, like a SpaceX rocket. And you're going to see some growth. So this country is going to grow because it's going to have a growth mindset. We're going to get rid of the corruption. We're going to get rid of the waste. We're going to get rid of the fixed mindset. And we're going to go into a growth mindset and make America great again. So when you look at that, challenges and failures, you look at the challenges that we just went through in our elections. They impeached him twice. They shot at him twice. They tried to prosecute him numerous times in all the different states, tried to keep him off the ballot in, I don't know, I thought 30 some states. Ridiculous. Every time they tried to get rid of him, he came back stronger because the truth always prevails. Always. Sometimes it takes some time, and we've gone through a lot of years of mess. But now is different. So get ready for some crazy good growth. So that fixed mindset, that effort is often used as fruitless if natural talent doesn't yield immediate results. Your feedback may be ignored or taken personally as a criticism for your innate ability. So can't be afraid what somebody's going to say about you. If you are, you're not willing to grow. Feedback is the best thing. I make 10 calls a day to people. And I call them. I don't text. I don't email, although I do. But I want to talk to people. I want feedback. I want to know how you think. And I can spot fix versus growth by your answers. And I can challenge you, and some don't change because it's always a choice, and some do. And that's the beauty of a fixed versus a growth mindset. I want you to get the book. Carol Dweck. Carol, are you out there? You wrote a great book. She's on TED Talks. She's on YouTube videos. Take ChatGPT, do a summary of her book, get your major ones, get her on Audible, and start applying growth mindset strategies. And what I want to do is, how do you identify your current mindset? You identify it by the words you say. That's why feedback is so important. If you get somebody saying, I'll say, like, would you want to be a guest on my podcast? And somebody will say, that's not my thing. I'll say, what do you mean it's not your thing? Talking about your business? How are you going to grow your business if you don't talk about it? I just never done it before. Okay, what else? And I have to laugh because it's just a fixed, negative, fearful mindset. And you'll never succeed in business. That's why 80% of the businesses fail in the first year. Is because you go in with the mindset as, I had a client, and I asked him 2 times to speak at our live event. 2 times he turned me down. One was he had something going on, I don't know. Second time, he said, I got a wedding at 3:00. I said, good. It's at 10:00 in the morning. He was stumbling around like, then finally, I'm there at the event. I get a text. Oh, by the way, where is it? Yeah, he wasn't looking for where it was. He wanted to appear that he made an attempt, but he was fearful. He told me the first time he was. And then so I gave him another opportunity. Fear. See this shoulder here? You got fear over here. See this shoulder here? You have courage. Which one are you going to feed? Are you going to be bold? Are you going to have a growth mindset? Or are you going to have a fearful mindset? And you're going to let the fear grow you. Because if the fear grows, it owns you. And it owned him. Now, I don't know what he's going to do. He hadn't, not to give his name, but I'd asked him about how many clients he had and said, when was the last time you got a client? You. 6 months. Me. 1 client. You'll never be in business because you have a fixed mindset. You feed your fear. Speak on your subject. Look, I'm giving you opportunity in 5 minutes to speak on your subject. And if you're fearful of that, what else are you fearful of? What else do you have a fixed mindset on? Lots of things, because it just keeps breeding in you. It breeds in your mindset. I can't do that. What if I say the wrong thing? What if you say the wrong thing? What if you do? What's the worst happen? Nothing, nothing. You speak from your heart and you look at one person. If I can change that one person in the audience, then I've done what I want to do. So one person's not as hard as trying to change 50 if you're speaking in front of 50 people, but that's a growth mindset. I just want to help. I want to help people. I want to have empathy for a person that is going through a situation that maybe my talk spurs a way to grow, the way to get better. And so when you look at those situations and when you look at how important it is, and I'm looking at my notes, respond to challenges and failures, the difference between the two mindsets, one's fix, one's growth. And when the final effort versus feedback, a fixed effort is often seen as fruitless. If natural talent doesn't yield immediate results, feedback may be ignored or taken personally as criticism for your innate ability. Now, so if you don't believe that you have the ability to grow, you're right, because you're the person making the decision. Again, back to mindset. Then growth effort is valued as a critical path to mastery and success. Feedback is welcome and used constructively to improve skills and understanding. So you want feedback. So when you go on a podcast, you want feedback. And if you want to read the comments, that gives you feedback. So that enables you to get better because people are going to be critical, but don't let it own you. Just use it to grow you as opposed to own and grow. So your mindset of growth is encouraging feedback, encouraging to lean into challenges. We say in Growth Day is lean in to your adversity, lean into your challenges, welcome them, get your toughest things done early. I'm done by 1 o'clock. I get all my top priorities done by 1. Now I get up early, but I still get them done. When you think, and if one day I get distracted, which happens when you have a mindset of ADD, you do your best to develop the hacks, the skills, the ways to funnel that focus without drugs. You get better, and you get better, and you get better, and you get better. And so if one day I don't accomplish what I set out to do that day, I don't just go, oh man, the week's gone. It's a disaster now. I just say next, and next day I put it back on the list and get it done. And so when you look at that feedback, you always want to be in a position to be self-aware of who you are, how you're getting better, what you're doing. Are you growing each day? We say in Growth Day that personal development is a way of life. We always know that if you're growing like a fruit on a tree, it's going to continue to look beautiful. Once it falls off, it stops growing. Well, what happens after a period of time? It gets rotten. So do you want rotten thinking? Then you have to move from a growth mindset, from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset. So those things, and I'm looking at my notes here, techniques, okay. So techniques, maybe it's done by 1, get up an hour earlier, plan your day, write down what are you going to work on today. I do wins every day, 3 wins, done it for 2 years. What are my 3 wins? And I write them down the next day. So from the previous day, because you got to know how you're winning. It's momentum. It's getting in the flow, the rhythm of winning, winning, winning. Win each day, win each hour, win each appointment, win. And that's the kind of mindset. If you have that mindset, you're growing. You're growing very rapidly. And it's not that you have to grow. It's not a contest against somebody else. It's you. You are all that counts. So if you're growing, you're happy with it, you're got your goals down, you have good habits for outcome, and you're continuing to develop a growth mindset, you're on the path to succeed. And finally, assignment. I want you to reflect on your past failures and identify growth opportunities. So write down a past failure and identify, how did I learn from that failure? What did life teach me? Okay, so this is week 2, growth versus mindset, mainly focused on Carol Dweck's book, Mindset. Get it, use it, apply it, and create a growth mindset. Pete Kane, Podcast Pete. Be bold, make an impact, and have fun. Be bold,